Welcome to another beautiful day. It is outnumbered live on your screen. We are reaching you live on the red from the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, Nigeria. My name is Ramsey Enoch, and I have my colleagues in the studio this morning. They will also be looking at the papers alongside. Antonia, good morning.
Hello, Ramsey. Good morning.
Well, I wanted to say something, but then maybe I'll tell her behind camera. Oh, you want me to tell you now?
No,
you look good. That's just it. You look good. You look good.
The way I try to sugarcoat is more like
she looks good,
you.
as usual. And I also have right here Michael Ekene Dili Shuku. Well, you like that. I know you love it. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, sir. It's good to be here always.
Michael.
Good morning, Tonia.
All right, viewers, this is the time we've been waiting for, and without wasting time, we'll take you through the headlines that we have for the day, beginning from the Punch newspaper. Food import hits 3 trillion naira over flooding and insecurity. This is coming from CBN, and details read on page 19 of the Punch newspaper. George's salary review 17 years ago, says AGF. Details read on page 9. Wike Fubara face off can destabilize Niger Delta. This is coming from the former president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in the person of Goodluck Jonathan, His Excellency. Details read on page 7. I think it's good that Jonathan is coming into the situation in Rivers State. He's a peacemaker. We all know him for that. He has gone outside the country to make peace in some countries before, and now this is his own country. So I'm not surprised that he's coming into the situation at this point in time. More still coming from the Punch newspaper this morning. Minimum wage. I know a lot of people want to hear this. Labour insists on May 31st deadline as talks resume today. Details read on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Then the big story. The kicker says a student loan. 1.2 million beneficiaries listed as schedule begins on Friday. All right, scheme, I beg your pardon. 1.2 million beneficiaries listed as scheme begins Friday. Details read on page 2, and one writer to that story, and the writer says that students in 226 tertiary institutions to benefit. Admissions later, NIN, BVN needed. All the time. Well, this is one scheme that a lot of people have been looking forward to. We'll talk about that much later. And finally, from the Punch newspaper, world leaders mourn as Iran probes president minister's death. Well, the crash. As at yesterday, they said the president is nowhere to be found. And later they said his corpse has been found and to be buried, and the deputy, the vice, to take over immediately. We say, may their soul rest in peace. And that's going to be the size of the headlines from the Punch newspaper this morning. As we move to the next paper, over to you, Antonia.
All right, thank you, Ramsey. Let's take a look at the Daily Trust newspaper. The first headline we have there: Kanu governor buys 2.7 billion naira vehicles for lawmakers. World leaders react as Iran's president is buried today. That's a sad one there for Iran. Minimum wage, no going back on May 31st ultimatum, says Labour. The big story on the Daily Trust newspaper this morning: bandits in military uniform abduct 20 in Abuja. We have some riders to this story. 2 attackers captured. This is coming from the police. Estates by pump action, order weapons for vigilantes. We have been tasked to fix police vehicle. This is coming from the residents. Now, I find this, so now the police are saying two persons have been arrested. Now, how did these bandits even get hold of military uniforms? Because sometimes it's so shocking to see that they go about perpetrating this act. One would not even suspect. Because if you see a military man, you think, oh, you're walking on the road, you see a military personnel. What's on your mind is that you're safe, you're secured. Now they are going about in military uniforms, and now the residents are saying they've been tasked to fix police vehicle. So is it that the police commission no longer takes care of their vehicles, that the residents of a particular area would have to be the ones to fix it?
Well, it's a major problem in this country when you see civilians using military uniforms we've had in the past. When robbers go on the highway in military uniforms. And when you see them, you slow down for them thinking they are on duty. But at the end of the day, you see them being robbed. These things have been happening. This is not the first time it's happening, but it's so amazing that nothing has been done about it. I think there should be a special squad set up to monitor things like that, because if nothing has been done, when you see someone in military uniform, what would you think? You may feel that person is truly a military officer.
Yeah, personnel, yeah.
And whatever the person asks you to do, you do it. And before you know it, you're being robbed of your hard-earned money or your belongings. I think something needs to be done ASAP about that.
All right, let's look at the other headlines we have. Federal government reviews 14 trade subject syllabi, decries teachers shortage. Then youths hit jackpot with Notecoin in crypto trading. Token gets high-profile listing on Binance, major exchanges. And that'll be the size of the headlines from the Daily Trust newspaper. Over to you, Michael.
Thank you, Antonia. Let's move straight to the Guardian. And the kicker on the Guardian on page 6, school feeding of 10 million kids. Labour threatens strike, issues May 31 ultimatum for new minimum wage deal. Details of that is on page 6 of the Guardian. Another story, electricity workers issue 2-week ultimatum on TCN unbundling tariff hike. Details of this story is on page 4 of the Guardian. Federal government has reached 75% of domestic borrowing target for 2024, says DMO. Details of this story is on page 15 of the Guardian. And another story, Jonathan wait into Wike Fubara field as Clark knocks Ganduje Damago for alleged complicity. Details of this story is on page 3. And the big story on the Guardian, FG in dilemma as inflation spikes, new budget to 540 billion naira. That is huge.
So
Very huge.
That's big,
It's very huge, And that's the size of the package on the Guardian. Back to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Michael, for those headlines. Let's begin another one, and this is going to be the last from the nation's newspaper. States will continue to get electricity regulatory license. Details read on page 7. At 75, UBA sustained market lead with 18 trillion naira customer deposit. Details read on page 7. No judge should bow to public opinion, says CJN. That's on page 3. Why Fubara Wike should end feud now by Jonathan. I think I like that. I like that. Jonathan is someone you must have to listen to because of his pedigree. Yeah. This is one image and integrity that Jonathan has built for himself after the 2015 election, when he stepped down and said nobody's blood is worth his ambition. Yeah. And, the international community took notice of that, and he's been a voice to reckon with all over the world. So if he is wedging into this feud between Wike and Fubara, I just want to say Wike and Fubara should get together and sort out whatever it is, whatever the problem is.
Because the drama every day. Today we see one thing on the news, tomorrow we see another. Sometimes it makes us even wonder if Fubara is actually concentrating on governing.
He is not concentrating. How on earth will you be able to concentrate?
Being involved in drama or fighting with Wike, who's in Abuja and you are in Rivers.
The question is, will Wike still want to run Rivers State?
That's the question. I don't know.
He can't.
I think what some of these people are looking for is relevance. They want to be relevant. But then you are the FCT minister. It means you're relevant. Whoever that is in River State should be allowed to do whatever is needed to be done in River State as the number one chief security of the state and the governor, as a matter of fact. All right, then the big story says federal government, we are getting back to the big story right now. And it says federal government releases conditions as student loan scheme begins. I want writer to that story. And the writer says youths in federal institutions get first opportunity. So if you're not in federal institution, the first opportunity may not come to you. I don't know if this sounds discriminatory, but then, the fight between HND, BSc, federal universities for polytechnic and universities. Then this one, federal institutions. This has to do with both universities, polytechnic, colleges of education, and monotechnics and all of that.
So if you're attending a state, you're not enjoying it.
You just hold on.
I think it says Okay, federal institutions.
Federal
Yeah,
institution
yeah.
get
Yeah.
first opportunity.
First opportunity.
Okay.
Okay, let's see how that goes. And the second rider says the portal opens on Friday. Today is Tuesday, so in few days from now, the portal will be open. And finally, from here, labor return for minimum wage talks. Well, I don't know. They are returning back. They said no going back. 100,000 naira. We don't want it.
What do they want? 1 million?
You were the one. You were the one.
Naira.
You said something.
I said above 100.
Antonia said above 100.
Above 100.
You,
yes.
You said you
said
not try.
above 100.
You not try for federal.
We actually have
35,000 to 48,000, then 100,000.
150.
Well,
I said above 100.
I will always say it. If you don't go for the moon, you won't get the
really
star.
Go to the sky.
Because
So-
if you know this minimum wage, once it is reduced from the lowest for the lowest level staff, it also reflects in other cadres. Do you understand? It reflects the minimum. Definitely, it will reflect in
It
other
will reflect,
cadres.
yeah, in other cadres. So
100 and above,
100
because
and
those that
above.
are still earning 500, 400, that means that will also
Yeah,
triple.
it'll
Do you
triple,
understand?
yeah.
Or
but what we're
increase.
saying, we're just particular and pathetic, okay, concerning people who are earning just too low. It will amaze you that there are people earning 20,000,
It's
50,000 in a month.
It's
Despite the fact that the minimum wage is 35. Some persons in Nigeria are still earning below. I think sometimes we need to talk about the labor laws in Nigeria. It's nothing to write home about. I'm saying this now to whoever that is concerned, the Minister of Labor, and whoever that's concerned should take note. And this is going to be the size of the headlines from the nation's newspaper this morning. And that brings us to the end of the review for this morning. It's a beautiful day. We're returning back with something great. And that's the big story. Don't go anywhere because we need to talk about this students' loan. We will return after this break.
Follow us on our social media handles at Oweleke TV. Visit our website at www.oweleke.tv for a thrilling journey. Oweleke TV, rising star at the fairground.
1.2 million beneficiaries listed as scheme begins on Friday. They said Friday it's going to get started, but then until Friday comes, we are not very sure. Welcome back from the break. It is still outnumbered live on your screen, and we are hitting you right now with the big story. I know the students, the parents, the uncles, the brothers and sisters are so interested in this because we're talking about the student loan right here. After a very long time, it came up the first time and they said, well, everyone was excited. Then later, some conditions came with it. All right. Then they said they need to set up a committee to look into it again. And now finally, they are saying 1.2 million beneficiaries have been listed as scheme begins on Friday. Today is Tuesday. We'll have just 3 more days and it will get started. But then there is a condition. But this condition to me is not something too difficult. Admission later, BVN, NIN. But then, come to talk about it, those guys in school, how many of them actually have admission later, which is the number one prerequisite anyway? Then talk about the national identity number. Then you talk about the BVN. Some persons were struggling to get this BVN, and at a point in time, they just say, the stress is too much. Let me just relax. I'll get it anytime.
Yeah.
NIN, the same thing. Some persons, their name were not spelled very well. Some persons, one
Their
mistake or the
admission
other,
letter.
and they've been following it. Someone told me a few days ago, I think the person wanted doing I think a business name or maybe a company registration, and the NIN was an issue. She had to suffer so much to get it. So now the question is this: how many people will actually get this? Despite the fact that they said the people in the federal institution will be the one to enjoy this opportunity first. Antonia, what are you thinking? What came to your mind when you heard about all this condition and all these promises that it was going to get started on Friday? Are you sure it's starting on Friday? Because I saw doubt on your face when I said Friday. You was like, they don't come again.
Not necessarily doubt. Every Nigerian will do they don't come again.
They
Because
don't come
it's
again.
long overdue. Something
That's
that was
true.
supposed to start last year, and sometime in January it was supposed to begin, and then it was moved to February. In fact, there was a week that it was announced that the scheme would start, and 2 days after they were like it's postponed indefinitely. So seeing them being so sure, saying that it's coming to begin on Friday, So let's wait and see what happens on Friday. And then 1.2 million beneficiaries. There are a lot of concerns that have been raised. Like Ramsey said, the issue of people having admission letters. Because usually when I was in school, I'll use myself as an example. When I gained admission, it didn't take time. JAMB would definitely send the admission letter to you. Have a JAMB portal, you can download it, print it out and everything. So it would be shocking to hear a student who is probably applying for this scheme saying he or she does not have admission letter. I don't think that should be an issue. Even the BVNs, NIN, you have a bank account. Every student nowadays will have they would even have OPay accounts. For instance, they will have accounts with fintech companies. So I don't think the NIN or BVN will be an issue in the registration. Now, the only thing I feel is an issue is, would this actually kickstart on Friday? And would it get to this loan? Would it get to the 1.2 million students as they've talked about? Would it be a case where the funds are diverted like we've had in previous schemes that have come up by the government? Would they see this to the latter?
All right. Would they see this to the latter? That's coming from Anfonia. Let's get to Michael this time. Michael, Sonia said something. He said BVN admission letter and NIN shouldn't be a problem. Do you feel it's possible for anyone to be in school and doesn't have all of this?
It's very possible, because when it was announced that it commenced on Friday by Mr. Akintunde Sawyer, the managing director, Nigerian Education Loan Fund. Everybody became ecstatic and exhilarated. But then the prerequisites to obtaining it, they mentioned it's for the needy, especially those, because it's covering basic tuition fee, stipend that helps you as a needy in a school. And they mentioned for the needy specifically, not for those who are from a well-to-do home. So this should be benefiting the poor, the less privileged in these federal institutions. Most people from an average home actually have this thing settled down because they're coming from an organized home and they need this help. So BVN, NIN shouldn't be an issue to stop you. And you notice that most people that concentrate in schools are from average homes, from the needy. They know I'm the star of my family. I need to graduate and help. So when I saw the initiative being announced by Mr. Akintunde Sawyer, I was happy, and I'm wishing it was my time, because I went to a federal university for my second degree. So I believe children in these federal institutions, those that is specified, the needy, are very, very happy. I really wish that the government sees this to execution and implementation. There's one thing to postulate, there's another to implement. Very expedient that it gets to the needy, and particularly about that, the needy, covering their tuition fee and stipend that goes to them. And I know the people that this will be given to should not divert the fund, because it's always there's a preponderance in Nigerian economy. When something is allotted out, some people will siphon it and put in their pocket. You find people that are supposed to benefit queuing to get this, and they won't get it.
I mean, you can see the case of the palliatives,
Yeah,
the COVID-19 palliatives.
People who don't need
during
it
the
are not
SARS
setting it.
protests, they uncovered some of these palliatives in warehouses that they were stored. So
That was when I finished
and
school.
that was
when I finished from uni Abuja. There's a particular place close to the Embark National Secretariat where palliatives were heaped. And the chairman will come out and tell, yeah, we are managing. But then how come there's foodstuffs packed? So, sir, funny enough, you find out that when these things are released by Nigerian Education Loan Fund, as Mr. Akintunde said, some people particularly are already seeing it as an opportunity to divert themselves.
And enrich themselves.
Trust me.
Well, as it is right now, I think what the authorities should do is to make sure this loan gets to people who needs them, especially the less privileged, and the conditions attached. At least they should mellow down, especially for people who don't have a lot of people, okay? Because if you're asking for so much from them, the people who are supposed to get it may not get it, and people who don't need it may be the ones who may actually get it at the end of the day. And nobody should divert this fund. Let Nigeria, okay, Nigerians get this benefit from the federal government. This is the size of today's big story on Outnumbered. One more thing that I want to say is this fund should not be diverted for anything. All right. Antonia, thank you for
Thank you, Ram.
adding your voice to the conversation. Michael,
Thank you, Sam.
it's so good having
Awesome.
you right here. And the viewers out there, this is the size of outnumbered for today. We will come on your way again, and that's going to be tomorrow. Same time, same station. My name is Ramsey Enoch. Bye-bye, and have a beautiful day.